Don't you dare ask us to cancel our plans again. We've had these concert tickets for months," her mother shouted, her voice echoing through the hospital room. Clara sat frozen, clutching her phone with trembling hands. It was Christmas Eve at Riverbend Medical Center, and the soft hum of machines filled the quiet space. In the corner, her 2-year-old twins Eli and Ella were stacking toy blocks while a nurse named Martha checked her vitals. The pain in her stomach felt like knives twisting, but what hurt more was the coldness on her mother's face through the video call. "My name is Clara Hayes," she whispered to herself, staring up at the pale ceiling. "And I've always been the forgotten one." Her younger sister Sophie was the favorite, the bright star who could never do wrong. But Clara, she was the problem child, the one who always asked for too much. Now, as she lay weak from internal bleeding caused by complications after her husband's death, the truth was undeniable. She needed surgery, urgently. Yet the only words her father offered were, "You've become such a burden, Clara. We're retired now. Let us live our lives." She had sent her parents $2,500 every month since they retired early 3 years ago. Even after her husband, Daniel, died in a car crash 6 months ago, she never missed a single payment. She gave because she loved them, because family was supposed to stand together. How wrong I was, she thought, tears sliding silently down her face. Martha, the nurse, noticed and gently touched her shoulder. "I have a friend named Joy," she said softly. "She's a professional nanny, used to work with children who've gone through loss. Would you like me to call her?" Clara nodded weakly, clutching her blanket. The twins were too young to understand what was happening. They had already lost their father, and now she feared they might lose their mother too. "Please call her," Clara whispered. Martha left the room, her shoes tapping softly down the hall. Clara turned her gaze to Eli and Ella. "Mommy's okay," she murmured, forcing a smile. But deep down she knew she was lying. Her parents had chosen a night of music over their daughter's life. When Martha returned, she carried a small smile that felt like hope. "Joy will be here soon," she said kindly. "She's wonderful with children." Clara's relief was mixed with worry. "How much will it cost?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Don't think about that now," Martha replied. "Let's just get you ready for surgery." But Clara couldn't stop thinking. She remembered the $2,500 she was supposed to send her parents next week, money that could now save her family instead. A quiet strength rose within her, something she hadn't felt in years. An hour later the door opened, and a warm-looking woman stepped in, her presence calm and steady. "You must be Clara," she said softly, setting her bag aside. "I'm Joy." She crouched near the twins, her eyes level with theirs. "Hi there, sweethearts." Within minutes, Eli handed her his toy truck, and Ella climbed onto her lap as if they'd known her forever. Watching them connect brought tears to Clara's eyes. "Thank you for coming so fast," she whispered. Joy smiled. "You just focus on getting better. I'll take care of them like they're my own." As the surgical team entered the room, Clara's fear grew. "Will it hurt?" she asked quietly, her voice shaking. Martha adjusted her foreline. "We'll take good care of you. You'll be asleep before you know it." Clara nodded, trying to steady her breath. She glanced once more at Eli and Ella, who were now drawing with crayons under Joy's watchful eye. "Mommy loves you," she whispered as they wheeled her away. Her heart ached with both love and fear. But under the fear was something else, resolve. For the first time she had chosen herself. When she woke up hours later, the world was hazy. Lights blurred, and faint beeping echoed around her. Martha's face came into view. "You did great," she said softly. "The surgery was successful." Clara blinked, tears forming in relief. "The twins. They're fine," Martha assured her. "Joy's been with them the whole time. She even brought them snacks and bedtime books." Clara exhaled deeply, letting the news sink in. She had survived. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving for others. She was living for her children and herself. The next morning, Clara's phone buzzed on her nightstand. She reached for it with weak fingers and froze when she saw 27 missed calls, all from her parents and Sophie. Message after message lit up the screen. Where's the money? Why haven't you answered? What's happening? None of them asked if she was alive. Not one mentioned her children. The last message from her father read, "You can't just cut us off, Clara. We have bills and plans." Clara stared at the words and let out a long, trembling sigh. "Plans," she murmured bitterly. "Always plans." Her sister's message was different. Hesitant, almost confused. "Mom and Dad said you were having some small procedure. Why are they so upset about money?" Clara's fingers trembled as she typed a reply, explaining everything. The emergency, their refusal to help, the truth she'd hidden for too long. A few minutes later, Sophie replied, "Oh my God, Clara. I didn't know. I thought you just wanted attention. I'm so sorry." For the first time, Clara saw a glimpse of sincerity in her sister's words. Maybe this pain would finally open someone's eyes. Days passed, and Clara's strength slowly returned. Joy remained by her side, keeping the twins laughing and fed. Sometimes, when the pain in her stomach throbbed, Clara would close her eyes and hear her children giggle in the background. It was the sound that reminded her to keep going. One evening, Joy helped her sit up to sip some soup. "You've got spirit," Joy said warmly. "Don't let anyone dim that." Clara smiled faintly. "I've spent years letting them," she admitted. "But I think I'm finally done." By the 5th day, Clara was strong enough to walk short distances with help. She looked around her hospital room. Flowers from clients, cards from neighbors, but nothing from her parents. Still, her phone buzzed with messages from them every morning, each one more desperate than the last. They didn't ask how she felt. They just wanted money. "You can't do this to us, Clara," her father wrote. "We have a mortgage due." Clara's lips tightened. "You could have watched your grandchildren," she muttered under her breath, deleting the message without replying. When she was finally discharged, Joy drove her home. The twins clapped their hands excitedly as they entered the small apartment. The place smelled faintly of lavender and baby lotion. Joy carried the bags in while Clara sank onto the couch. "I'll stay a few nights until you're steady," Joy said firmly. Clara didn't argue. That night, as the twins slept peacefully, Clara sent 2 important messages. One to her bank, canceling all automatic transfers to her parents, and another to her parents. "I will no longer provide financial support. My children and I deserve better. Don't contact me again." As she hit send, Clara felt something unfamiliar, peace. She expected guilt or fear, but instead she felt lighter, freer. The next morning, her phone exploded with calls she ignored. Instead, she focused on making breakfast with the twins. Eli tried pouring milk and spilled half on the floor. "Mommy, it's okay," he said, smiling with his gap-toothed grin. Clara laughed softly. "It is, sweetheart. It really is." For the first time in years, her morning wasn't defined by someone else's expectations. It was defined by love, laughter, and the smell of pancakes on a sunny kitchen table. 2 weeks later, Clara had regained most of her strength. Her scar still ached, but her spirit had healed more than her body. She hired Joy part-time, grateful for her patience and warmth. "You're family now," Clara told her one afternoon as they packed toys into bins. Joy smiled. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in a long time." Clara returned the smile. "You've earned it." Her world was small, but it was safe, full of people who cared not because they wanted something but because they chose to. Then one evening there was a knock at the door. Clara froze, her heart hammering as she looked through the peephole. Her parents stood outside. Her mother clutched a purse nervously, while her father's face wore his usual expression of impatience. Clara opened the door slightly, her voice steady. "What do you want?" Her mother's tone turned sugary sweet. "Oh, darling, we've been so worried. You haven't answered our calls." Clara crossed her arms. "I've been recovering. We're fine." Her father stepped forward. "We need to talk about this ridiculous financial decision of yours." Clara blinked in disbelief. "You came here to talk about money," she asked coldly. Not to ask if I survived surgery. Her father frowned. Don't be dramatic. You're fine now. We just need to sort this out before it gets worse. Clara's hands shook, but she didn't back down. There's nothing to sort out, she said. You've been taking advantage of me for years. Her mother gasped. How can you say that after all we've done for you? Clara's eyes glistened. You refused to watch your own grandchildren while I was fighting for my life. Her father's voice hardened. We had plans that night, Clara. We can't revolve our lives around your problems. Clara's jaw tightened. Plans more important than your daughter's life? She asked softly. Do you know what the doctor said? Could have died. But you didn't care. You just cared about your comfort. The silence that followed was heavy. Her mother's eyes watered, but her voice stayed sharp. We made one mistake. Are you really going to punish us forever? Clara shook her head. This isn't punishment, Mom. It's consequence. Just then, little Ella toddled into the room, clutching her stuffed bear. Her mother bent down with forced excitement. There's my sweet grandbaby, she cooed, reaching out. But Ella stepped back and hid behind Clara's leg. I think you should leave, Clara said quietly. If I ever want to talk, I'll reach out. Her father started. But the money, Clara interrupted firmly, is no longer your concern. With that, she closed the door slowly, her hands trembling, but her heart calm for the first time in years. The next morning, the knocking returned, this time louder, accompanied by a familiar voice. Clara, honey, it's Aunt Ruth. Please open up, her aunt pleaded. Your parents are heartbroken. You can't just abandon them like this. Clara sighed and stayed by the door. They managed their finances before I ever helped them, she replied. They'll manage again. Her mother's voice broke through. We made those choices because you promised to help us. I never promised forever, Clara said quietly. You just assumed I'd never stop paying for your comfort. And with that, she turned away from the door. Hours passed, and the knocking finally stopped. Clara sat at the kitchen table, staring at her untouched cup of tea. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a group email from her father. He had written to the entire extended family, painting her as an ungrateful daughter who had abandoned her aging parents after everything they sacrificed. Clara scrolled through the long message in silence, her chest tightening. He'd left out every truth, how they refused to help during her surgery, how they had drained her kindness dry. She closed her eyes, bracing for what would come next. But then, something unexpected happened. Her cousin Ben replied publicly to the email. Uncle Paul, didn't you just buy a new boat last month? And Aunt Linda, didn't you show off that diamond bracelet at Thanksgiving? The thread exploded. Other relatives chimed in, asking questions, expressing disbelief. One message came from her Aunt Ruth, the same one who had come to her door. Clara, I didn't know about your surgery. Is it true? Clara hesitated, then typed a calm, factual reply. Yes, I had emergency surgery. They refused to help with my children because they had plans. The replies poured in with sympathy and anger, this time not at Clara but at her parents. Family members who had once sided with them began to see the truth. Even Aunt Ruth called her later that night. Sweetheart, she said softly. I'm sorry. I believed them. I had no idea how serious it was. Clara felt a lump form in her throat. Thank you, she whispered. That means more than you know. When the call ended, she sat in silence, realizing something powerful. She no longer needed her parents' approval to feel loved. From then on, life started to move in a new rhythm. Her sister Sophie visited often, bringing home-cooked meals and spending time with the twins. They laughed over old memories and cried over broken ones. I wish I'd known sooner, Sophie said one afternoon, watching Eli and Ella chase bubbles in the living room. They always made it sound like you wanted distance. Clara sighed. That's what they wanted everyone to believe. But I'm done explaining myself. Sophie nodded quietly. You're stronger than you think, Clara. For the first time, Clara believed it. Weeks turned into months. Clara started freelancing again, her design work slowly picking up. She found comfort in late-night sketches while Joy cared for the twins. Some evenings, she joined an online support group for widowed parents. Through those faces on the screen, she found healing. People who understood grief, exhaustion, and the courage to start again. One of them, a woman named Leah, even helped Clara design a website for young single parents. "You've got a gift," Leah told her. "Use it." Clara smiled. "Maybe I finally will." Then one morning Sophie called, her voice uneasy. "They're in trouble, Clara," she said. "Mom and Dad are about to lose the house. They took another mortgage to buy that boat. Now the bank's giving them 60 days to pay up." Clara rubbed her temple. "What about their retirement savings?" "Mostly gone," Sophie admitted. "Bad investments. Poor decisions." Clara was silent for a moment. "They'll expect me to fix it," she finally said. "Don't," Sophie replied firmly. "You've done enough. Let them face what they created." That evening, Clara received a string of desperate messages. "Please, Clara. We didn't think you'd actually cut us off. You can't let us lose everything." There was no apology, only panic. She put the phone down and walked into the twins' room. Eli was asleep, clutching his toy truck, while Ella hummed softly to herself. Clara sat beside her and whispered, "You'll never have to beg love from anyone, sweetheart. Not while I'm here." She brushed a curl from her daughter's face and knew she'd made the right choice. 3 months later, Sophie came by again. Her expression mixed with pity and amazement. "They sold the boat," she said. "And the timeshare. They've moved into a small condo now. They're blaming you, of course." Clara smiled faintly. "Let them. I'm done defending myself." Her home was smaller but filled with warmth. Joy still helped with childcare and the twins were thriving. Neighbors stopped by with casseroles. Sophie read bedtime stories on weekends. For the first time in years, Clara's life wasn't about pleasing others. It was about peace. 6 months after her surgery, a letter arrived in her mailbox, handwritten in her mother's neat script. Clara hesitated before opening it. Inside were shaky words of remorse. "I've had time to think," her mother wrote. "We failed you, Clara. Watching you build a life without us has been humbling. I'm sorry for choosing our comfort over your pain." There was no request for money. No excuses. Just apology. Clara's eyes blurred with tears. For the first time the words felt real. She folded the letter carefully, unsure whether to believe or simply accept it. A month later, Clara met her parents at a quiet cafe. They looked smaller, older, humbled. Her father's once proud voice trembled as he said, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to do better." Her mother nodded, tears glistening. "We're in therapy now. Sophie helped us see the truth." Clara listened in silence. She didn't promise reconciliation, but she didn't walk away either. "My children deserve to know the difference between love and control," she said calmly. "If you've truly changed, you'll prove it through actions." As she left the cafe, a soft peace filled her heart. For the first time, she wasn't the forgotten daughter. She was the woman who finally chose herself.